I'm Sabrina, and today we're going to learn to make no-sew or easy-to-sew doll gowns. For this craft, I used a 20-inch by 40-inch piece of fabric for the dress, and that 40-inch measurement, as you can see, this dress here pulls around my doll's feet, but if you want a shorter dress, then you can adjust the 40-inch measurement to your liking. I also had a 20-inch by 6-inch strip of fabric, and that's just for testing out different necklines, which is especially important if you have a stretchy fabric like this crushed pan velvet. But because I'm going to be demonstrating with this non-stretch satin. But it's really helpful to be able to test out your necklines regardless of what fabric you use, so I highly recommend getting that 20-inch by 6-inch. A quick word about fabrics. In this dress, I used this stretchy pan velvet, which I found was really nice because it made it a lot easier to take the gown on and off of the doll, and a little bit more forgiving when I made sewing errors. However, it's slightly harder to sew because it stretches as you sew it. In this video, I demonstrate with a satin, and the pros of satin is that it'll pretty much stay put when you pin it, and it looks pretty good. However, satin is more likely to fray than other fabrics, so if you're getting a satin, do keep that in mind. Satin is also a little harder to take on and off of the doll, but I'll show you how to manage with this dress. You'll also need 4 to 5 feet of ribbon to secure the dress, and optionally, to decorate the neckline, 7 to 8 inches of trim. For tools, you're going to need a ruler, a pencil for marking your fabric scissors, some fabric pins. I actually designed this project. It was a completely no-sew, no-glue gown, which looked really good, except for I thought that even just closing the seams a little bit made it look a lot better. So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to do that with just a few drops of hot glue. However, that leaves a few gaps in the seams, so optionally, you could use a needle and thread just to do some classic sewing, and there's only just a tiny bit of it. Or if you don't like sewing at all, you can use this this glue, which is designed for fabric and is washable, and it is called Liquid Thread, and there's another brand that's called OK to Wash, and it just allows you to seal your seams with glue that's both washable and it will allow you to have a continuous line. Finally, if you have a fabric that frays, you might need something like Fray Check, and if you don't have Fray Check, nail polish or even glue will work just fine. So this is my 6-inch strip of fabric, and I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm just going to cut it in half this way so that I can experiment with it twice. So here I have half of my 6-inch by 20-inch piece of fabric, and I folded it in half lengthwise, so I've got a 3-inch surface here. And because I have a non-stretch satin, I'm going to go ahead and set up for a 3.5-inch neckline by putting pins at 0 inches, 1 3/4 inches, and 3.5 inches. However, if you have a stretchy fabric like the crushed pan velvet dress I was talking about earlier, you're going to want to set up for a 3 1/4 inch wide neckline instead. Now I've taken out one pin, and I'm going to fold over the 1 3/4 inch pin line. Then I'm going to draw a small curve, a very shallow curve going from the 3.5 inch pin to the middle pin, like this. And at the deepest point of this ellipse, I have about 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to choose which side is the back, and I'm going to cut a 1-inch slit going down. Now we're going to deepen the front so that from the middle of the curve to the bottom, there will be about 1 inch. Okay. So here's the back with the slit, and again I am deepening the front. So it was a tight fit, but I liked the look, so I deepened the cut in back to 2 inches. This is going to be your pattern, so you should adjust it until you like the shape and you can easily pull it over your doll's head. If you want a rounder neckline, you should make the opening on top a little narrower and bring the front curve a little bit deeper onto the doll's chest. Another neckline that looks really good with this dress is a square neckline, so you would cut the front into a square like that. Now I've folded my 20 by 40 inch piece of fabric into a 20 by 20 inch square. And then I'm going to fold it in half along the fold so that I can find the halfway point. And I'm going to mark it with a pin, my pencil. And you might want to do this marking on the wrong side of the fabric. Now you're going to draw half of your template onto your main piece of fabric. And now I'm going to fold my main piece of fabric in half lengthwise. It's very hard to see, but I have outlined here my neckline and traced in my little slit in back. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So I've cut out my neckline, and now I'm just going to cut the slit by cutting through the fold. If you have a fabric that frays, now's the time to fray check the neckline. And make sure that when you do so, you have some paper underneath. Here I have the fray check, which should dry clear, but if you're using a fabric like the crushed panne velvet, which does not fray, you won't be needing any. So I'm once again marking on the back side of the fabric, and I'm folding it in half, but I'm lining up the bottom parts because again, the neckline is uneven where the front is deeper than the back. Now, measuring an inch from the edge of the neckline, I am marking where my sleeves will begin. So now I'm going to measure 2.5 inches down from the fold along that pin that's 1 inch away from the neckline that marks the beginning of the shoulder. And then I'm going to go to the edge and I'm going to measure 12 inches down from the fold as well. So I have those two measurements marked with a pin, and I'm going to draw a line connecting them for the sleeve. So here's a quick drawing of what we did. Here's the neckline, which is 3 to 3.5 inches wide. Here is the 1 inch between the neckline and the shoulder. Here's the 2.5 inches down from the shoulder, and here's 12 inches down from the fold at the edge of the fabric. And again, we've drawn our line in pencil from the bottom of the 2.5 inches to the bottom of the 12 inches. And this line from the 2.5 to 12 inch markers is where we're going to cut the fabric to make the sleeve. So here's the sleeve. Now I'm going to measure 5.5 inches out from the shoulder, and this will be the length of the sleeve. Then I'm going to draw a line connecting that 5-inch mark to the bottom of the sleeve. I'm going to cut along it. Now we're going to fold the fabric in half so we can do a symmetric sleeve on the other side. So as you can see, I've lined up the sides and I've got the back slit here, and I'm going to use the sleeves that I just cut as a template for the other side. Okay. If I were doing a stretchy fabric like the panne velvet, I would definitely use pins. So as you can see, I have both sides cut out symmetrically now. I finished cutting, and you can see the sleeves and the side of the dress, and now's the time to fray check if you need to, and you would fray check along all the raw edges, so the edge of the sleeve, the bottom of the sleeve, the side of the dress, and then this bottom part here too. Now we can start to get a sense of what the dress will look like. Put it over the doll's head, and then take your ribbon and put it from the back to the front, and cross it up over the shoulders, and then cross it again in back to bring it around to the front, where you can tie it off. So I've adjusted the ribbon, and then I'm going to adjust the fabric in the back and front, and then I'm going to trim or fold it as I like. So as you can see, my sleeves are a little long, so I'm going to go ahead and trim them both about 1 inch. And then in the front, I'm going to trim the front fabric, and I'm just going to go ahead and trim it where this 12-inch down angle intersects, but I'm going to leave the back long so it can train behind the doll. I'm marking here to cut an extra 1.25 inches off of the sleeves. If you're going to sew or use liquid thread, sew starting 1 inch to 2 inches down from the top of the sleeve, and then just sew down the sleeve and then 1 inch to 2 inches down the side, and then sew the rest of the way down the side. Repeat on the other side, and again that 1 to 2 inches at the top of the sleeve is there in case the cutting got a little bit off, so that it's not too tight for the doll. So for the no-sew option, we're going to use some hot glue, and you're going to put hot glue at the tip of the bottom of the sleeve, and then a dot of hot glue every 2 inches going up the sleeve, so that there's 4 dots in total. And note, there will be no hot glue dot at the very top of the sleeve. That way there's a little bit more room for air in your hot gluing. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So again, these are the right sides, and I'm gluing the right sides together. I'm going to go up the side, but every 2 inches, and avoiding that last dot at the top of the sleeve. So like I said, the satin can be a little bit harder to take on and off of the doll, so I'm just going to show you how I do that really fast. So first I put the doll's arms up, and then I take the satin and I put it over the doll's head. I then find the sleeves and put them over the arms. So I borrowed my sister's doll so you can see the 2 dresses, and this is just with hot glue right now, but if you choose to sew over the same seams that we hot glued, it'll just make the dress a little bit nicer. There's also 2 ways of wrapping the ribbon. You can either wrap it a couple times around the waist like here, or you can wrap it in the X pattern I showed earlier, like in my sister's doll. For the trim on the neckline, you can hot glue or sew it on just around the edge. However, if you have a stretchy fabric, make sure that you leave a gap in the back. That way, the non-stretchy trim won't prevent the stretchy fabric from stretching over the doll's head. In my next video, I'll show you how to make this lace crown. But in the meantime, you can check out how to make these beaded crowns in the link that I'll put at the end of the video. Thanks for watching.